Hey everybody! Hello, Andy Irvine here. Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you and share a little bit with you about some of my right hand techniques. It's pretty much all within the right hand where I get all the different types of sounds and feels out of the bass guitar. And there's many different techniques that I use with my right hand to accomplish this, to extract the types of sounds and the types of feels that I want out of the bass. And it all stems from the right hand and using my fingers in different ways. So I'm going to start by showing you several of my right hand techniques and demonstrating them up close, real up close, so you can see what I'm doing. And then over the next, several weeks and months and stuff like that, we'll focus in on each one specifically. But today will just be kind of like an overview to get you started, at least checking out some of the right hand techniques that I do. And a lot of the stuff I do is what a lot of people do. It's pretty common, standard stuff. So we'll start by just talking about the anchor. And the anchor is where you place your thumb when you're playing. And for me, I have 4 different types of anchor scenarios. The first is the back pickup over the back pickup. The second is over the front pickup with the thumb anchored on the pickup. And the third is at the end of the fingerboard right here where it raises up a little bit. That's another great anchor place. So that's 1, 2, 3 anchor places that I might use. And then the other, which I commonly use more than anything, is what I call my bounce anchor. And I tend to rest my thumb on the strings and move it from place to place as I'm playing. So if I'm going, so I'll be moving that thumb around, and I tend to like that springy, bouncy kind of a thing. And you'll see that if you're ever watching me play, I'm kind of mashing this string down and bouncing it all over the place. But that's just what I like. I like that kind of resistance and that bouncy kind of mobile thing. I find that when I'm fixed and locked into one position, like on the pickup here, sometimes it makes my playing a little bit more rigid. So I tend to like that bounce pivot there. So generally what I'm doing is that I'm alternating between the first 2 fingers. But what I tend to do is I tend to use these back 2 fingers as one, because I feel that the first finger, this finger, gets a big warm sound, but the second inherently is a little bit thinner. So I've adapted a technique where whenever I'm playing this finger, I usually play the third finger with it simultaneously. So it's as if it's one. And especially if I'm doing like 16th notes. So every time I'm striking with the second finger, it's actually I'm using the back 2, I'm using the third finger simultaneously with it. Same thing goes if I'm galloping. It's not, it's not a full-on alternating scenario, although I do that sometimes if I'm playing straight 8th. But like when I'm galloping, it's really, but I'm just letting that third finger kind of assist the second finger to give it a fatter, even sound with the first finger. Turn the treble up a little bit. Now another thing I'll do is I'll start incorporating the thumb, which I use a lot. I use the thumb a lot in my playing, and the number one thing that I'll use it for is the palm mute, where I'm muting my my hand in front of the back of the, right at the end of the strings where they meet the bridge, gently pressing and giving the string a gentle pluck with the thumb. And with this, I'm able to accomplish getting kind of a 60s soulful, kind of a flat wound type of tone by just doing this little palm mute thing. This is very common. Producers love that. That goes to tape really, really well for getting an old school kind of a vintage sound. Now another thing that I'll do is what I call the stride. If I'm playing like an octave type of bass line, this is where I'm reaching across the strings with the first and the second finger. I might jump up and do a double. So if I'm doing an octave type of, maybe a disco-oriented type of bass line or a dance music type of bass line that's built out of the octave pattern, I'll do that. I might do that stride thing. Another thing that I might do is an alternating thing where I'll use the thumb and the first finger. Now this one's really cool because when I do it like this, I can incorporate the second finger and I can give it this feel. And I can get that going real perfectly smooth, whereas if I try and do it with the stride, it's a little bit harder. I find it easier to do it like this. I mean, the final result is I want everything to be as smooth and even as possible with a, of course, even rhythm and even amount of volume from the different notes. Generally, I want it to be nice and even, and then if I want an accent to stick out, I might grab it with my finger and give it a little pluck for an accent. You know. That's an exaggeration. There's many different degrees. I think of it as a ladder, stepping a dynamic ladder. So there's all different kinds of dynamic ladder points that you can use with the amount of pressure when you're pulling the note off the bass. You know, whether you're plucking it or just giving it a little bit slightly harder attack to get what you're after. Another thing that I'll do is I'll dig in. I'll do the digging in kind of a thing where I'm going. Yeah, I'm digging in really hard with the right hand. That's another thing that I'll do. And let's see. Oh, another one that I'll do will be what I call the pinch. And this is kind of a moderate, if I'm going for a moderate dynamic and looking for kind of a smooth thing, I might use the pinch. You know, it's like a little pincher, you know, like on a crab or whatever, you know. And I'm using it with the palm mute. Now, the pinch is going to have a slightly different sound than just the straight up palm mute with all thumb. So that's another alteration or another option of a right hand technique I might use. And then of course I might get into some, you know, of course the slapping. You know, I'm slapping it, nailing it on the first fret here, and I'm thinking about getting off it as soon as I hit it. You know, the second I hit it, I'm thinking about getting back off of it. And I kind of keep a closed hand, and I usually grab it with the first finger for my pluck portion of that. Now, in terms of slapping, there's a whole bunch of things that I'll do with the right hand. One might be the rake. So it's down, 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 then a little hammer on. I might incorporate the double pluck, using 2 fingers, doing 2 plucks in succession. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on with the right hand when it comes to slapping and popping. There's the double thumbing. That's a 3-stroke triplet type of pattern where you're coming down through with the thumb, back with the fingernail, and then up with the pluck. You know, Vic Wooten made it famous initially, and Bill Dickens and people like that. Now everybody's doing it in all different kinds of ways, you know. And that double thumbing is a really cool technique, and actually it can be applied really cool to the palm mute. Because it gives you a really cool sound that has different components to it. It has the warm down pluck, and then like the sound of almost like using a flat pick with your thumbnail on the back. So when you get her going, it starts to sound really cool because it's a mixture of the two, the warm and the click on the back side, which makes a nice accent. So there's a whole bunch of right hand techniques that you can start to experiment with and just have some fun with, and make up some cool grooves and some cool feels, and start to experiment with some new and fun different ways of approaching the right hand technique on the bass guitar. I hope you enjoy that, and we'll talk to you real soon. Peace.